Welcome back to Anxious Faith. My name is James Burke. It's great to be back with you and be back again after this break. Like we've said, not coming back with a new season, but thankfully coming back with new episodes every 2 weeks. It is just so encouraging to be able to continue these conversations and glad to have you with us. We've talked about how Anxious Faith started looking at anxiety and our faith, predominantly focused on, what is one of the most common mental illnesses that we face here in Australia and likewise around the world. But as we've continued to go on, we want to start talking about different other mental illnesses that people are struggling with, how people are facing them, and how it's going to play out with their faith as well. So we're excited today to talk to someone that actually knows a bit about this stuff. We're joined today by Dr Kuruvilla George, or KG. KG, hello. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome.
KG, you were a practising psychiatrist and then have also been doing some other work. Why don't you just give us a little bit of an introduction to who you are and your background?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. So I was born and brought up in Singapore, and my parents were Indians.
Okay.
My father always wanted to go back to India, so I did all my schooling in Singapore and then went to India where I did my medical education.
Okay.
So my mental health career pathway probably started from the time when I was an intern.
Okay.
I was actually, when I went through my medical studies, was very keen to do obstetrics and gynecology. That was my first love. I thought it was always a miracle to see a newborn baby, and whenever I had an opportunity, I would be there, taking the opportunity to see a new birth.
Yeah.
But during my internship days, a number of events happened.
Okay.
And I think it's God events, and which made me rather disillusioned with modern medicine, the way it is being practiced.
Yeah, wow.
And I was about to kick medicine completely and go into full-time ministry. And at that time, I was counseled by actually a missionary doctor from Australia.
Okay.
Fairly well known here, called Dr. Frank Garlick, mentor. He has been to many of us, including myself. And he counseled me and said, no, don't do that, KG, because you can do Christian ministry anytime in your life. You will regret it if you leave medicine and later on you felt that you wanted to go on.
Yeah.
So that's when I began to look at mental health or psychiatry as a specialty, because I was getting fed up with the way that medicine looked at increasingly just an organ or even a part of an organ, and don't consider the whole human being as a whole, person. The way you see that constantly being reflected in the way we practice. So I thought in psychiatry, you can't forget the physical aspects. Many of the mental illnesses are due to physical disorders that we have that affect our mind. So we have to take that into consideration. We have to take our emotions, our mental aspects. And I thought as a Christian, I can also consider the spiritual, the whole being.
Yeah.
And that's when I became interested in psychiatry.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is, I did my psychiatry in UK. Went to UK to do my psychiatry. Even in UK in the 1970s. The first question that I often got asked, even by Christians, was, how can you as a Christian do psychiatry, which is a non-Christian field of medicine?
Yeah.
And I used to have to share with them, look, psychiatry, just like any specialty, is no more or less Christian than any other field.
Yep.
And actually, if I had gone into my field of obstetrics, which I wanted to do, I would have had more ethical problems these days about things like abortion and many other things than I would do in psychiatry.
Wow. Yeah.
So that was interesting. And from that time, I've been very interested in trying to break the stigma and the lack of understanding and very often wrong teaching among Christians and in the churches when it comes to the whole area of mental illness.
Yeah.
So after that, I practiced in UK as a consultant for a number of years, and then always with the interest about Christian ministry, we came as a family, as a young family. We left my job in UK, came to India for a number of years, about 9-10 years, and worked among medical students and doctors in ministry. And then because our family needs, we were going to go back to UK when they needed university education. But God miraculously led us here.
Yep.
And I started my career back in psychiatry after 10 years not working in psychiatry.
Okay.
And again, by God's grace, very quickly and rapidly, did fairly well. I was initially director of medical sort of services in the Northwest, then came to Eastern Health, where I was for over 20 over years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
My specialty was geriatric psychiatry.
Okay.
That's my specialty,
Yeah.
old age. And but I also had a stint as 10 years along that time as a Deputy Chief Psychiatrist for the state of Victoria.
Wow.
Which enabled me to know all the services in Victoria and what was going on in the public sector.
Yeah.
And also some academic positions that I had with Deakin and Monash. Okay. And I retired when I turned 70 in the year 2020.
Okay.
And now I'm more involved with Christian ministries, one of them being the Centre for Theology and Psychology at the Melbourne School of Theology.
Yeah.
That's to date, probably. Brief.
Yeah.
Brief.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's it. It's amazing to hear that kind of story of how even in, intending to go down one track of medicine, you end up being led into another area for God, intending to go somewhere else, go to the US or UK it was, and God leads you here to Australia kind of thing. But clearly there's been a call to ministry here, which we are grateful to have you here.
Thank you.
And grateful for the work that the Centre for Theology and Psychology are doing. We'll chat a bit more about what they're doing kind of thing at the end. But I thought today it'd be great to draw on some of your knowledge and let's talk a bit about some of the more prevalent mental health conditions that Australians and people, in the Western world, in broader terms, are dealing with. We kind of hear them bandied around. We know a lot about anxiety and depression. They're often very much talked about. But other things like substance abuse or bipolar disorder or obsessive compulsive disorder and things like that. So obviously we could sit and talk for hours about each of them.
Yes.
But I thought, for this episode, let's have a bit of an overview at some of these major mental illnesses that people face. But then also, from your experience, a bit of how we as Christians respond in general to mental illness, either as individuals or as a church. So, if you're happy for me just to lob some questions
Happy
at
to
you.
do that. Happy to do that. So, look, as you rightly said, we often, because the most prevalent disorders are more anxiety disorders. So we do break it up in psychiatry as what's called the high prevalence disorders and the lower prevalence disorders. But the higher prevalence, we say more low impact.
Okay, yeah.
Low impact by high prevalence.
Yep.
And the high impact but low prevalence.
Yep.
So let's start, because in our sort of classification of mental illness in psychiatry, we start with the high impact or low prevalence disorders, and then go on to the ones that we talk about, the anxiety disorders.
Absolutely.
So at the high end, I'm just making it simple for you.
Yes.
We use the term psychotic disorders.
Okay. Yep.
And in the psychotic disorders, which is the high impact, that means they're the more serious mental illness, these are illnesses where a person's thought, mood, cognition, everything gets impacted, and their behavior.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and these are people that when you see, immediately you know there's something wrong with them.
Yep.
Yeah, and in that would be what we call, first of all, the organic psychotic illnesses, and one of the conditions which increasingly people are talking about is dementia.
Yeah.
So dementia comes under that. See, and in dementia, a person not only has memory problems, but they can have problems about their emotion.
Yeah.
They can have problems about their cognition, their memory, thinking, etc. And they can have problems with their behavior, which can become aggressive, difficult. And they begin to have also thinking, which is impacted. And that's when we say psychotic illnesses, because they begin to have the main disturbances in psychotic disorders are what we call delusions
Yep.
and hallucinations. And so what are they? Delusions are, a brief definition, is a false belief
Yep.
that cannot be corrected by reasoning,
Okay. Yeah.
and which is out of keeping with the person's background. So there are three criteria to be fulfilled
Yep.
before you can say something is a delusion.
Yeah.
So a false belief, like somebody saying, my neighbor is trying to kill me. If it's a delusion, then there is no point in trying to argue with them.
Saying to them clearly they're not trying to.
Yeah.
Won't
And
do anything.
Usually, when I spoke to families, I would say, if a person is deluded, there are 3 A's you should do. So what are the 3 A's? One is don't argue with them.
Okay. Yeah.
Because if you argue, it just makes them much more aggressive, difficult, because you can't. Because it's a false belief which cannot be corrected by reasoning.
Yep.
So what's the first? That's the first, don't argue. Second is, do not agree with them.
Okay. Yeah.
Because if you agree, you're reinforcing their belief.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So then they say, then doctor, what should we do? So just accept
Okay.
what they say.
Yeah. Wow.
Don't argue, don't agree, just accept that this is the way. Yes, mom, I know this is the way you are feeling.
Yeah.
Not saying I agree with you. Yeah, we understand what you're feeling.
yeah,
So those are 3. So that's a delusion. So many of these high impact disorders, psychotic illnesses, have delusions.
Yep.
And the hallucinations, what are hallucinations? False perceptions.
Okay.
So delusion is a false belief.
Yep.
Hallucinations are false perceptions
Yeah.
without a stimulus.
Okay. Yep.
And we have got 5 senses.
Yep.
So we can have hallucinations in all 5 senses.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If it is visual,
Yep.
that means we are seeing things that are not there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Auditory,
Yep.
hearing things which are not there.
Yeah. And they're the two that probably people would think of the most when you think of a hallucination.
Visual
Yeah.
and but we also have olfactory,
Wow. Yeah.
smelling things which are not there,
Tasting.
tasting things that are not there, and feeling things that are not there. These are all hallucinations.
Yeah.
So these are the 2 main psychotic symptoms.
Yeah.
Along with there are many others, but just to make so when a person has psychotic illness, they can have these wrong beliefs,
Yeah.
wrong perceptions. Then obviously there'll be wrong thinking.
Yeah.
Then because of that, there can be difficult behaviors because they're behaving to what they believe, so they begin to believe and react and act because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
So what are some of these high impact but low prevalence disorders? The most well known is schizophrenia.
Yeah. Yep.
And schizophrenia, again, there are many different types, but the interesting thing is wherever you go in the world, whether it is India, Russia, United States, Australia, the incidence of this illness is about 1%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting?
Yeah.
So what
not-
what do you think? Why? We'll come to that later. So that's schizophrenia.
Yep.
Then the other one is what's called bipolar affective
Yep.
disorder, which is mainly a mood disorder with manic episodes, excitable.
Yep.
People become much more excitable. They talk more. That's a manic phase when they are elated emotionally. They feel so happy, top of the world.
Yep.
And then you have the depression. So it's a cyclical disorder.
Okay. Yeah.
A manic depressive, what used to be called, now we call it bipolar.
Yeah. Okay.
So then there is a disorder where there is a sort of combination of schizophrenia and bipolar. We call it schizoaffective
Okay. Yep.
disorder. Right? So remember the top we said dementia.
Yep.
Then we have the schizophrenia,
Yep.
bipolar affective disorders, and that's what's called delusional disorders, where the person has got a wrong belief. That's the main problem. So these are some of the main
Yep.
psychotic illnesses.
Yeah.
So start with organic,
Yep.
but then there are also things like psychotic illnesses due to medical
Okay.
problems.
Yeah.
Because there are some things going wrong with, say, endocrine disorders,
Okay.
endocrine problems, which then affect the brain, they begin to have psychotic symptoms. And also not forgetting drug-induced psychotic
Yeah.
brought on by
Substance abuse.
abuse, which can make them psychotic. So those are the high impact but low prevalence.
Yeah.
Then we come to the high prevalence but low impact,
Yeah.
and those are the stress-induced disorders.
Yep.
Generalized anxiety disorder, many of us know about that.
Yeah.
Obsessive compulsive disorders.
Yep.
We have what's called somatoform disorders, where because the stress, you have a stress, you try to suppress it, but that is an energy. We can't suppress it. If you suppress it to the unconscious, it comes out in all kinds of physical symptoms.
Yeah,
and signs.
okay.
In
Yeah.
the past, we used to call it hysterical disorders,
Okay.
but we call it somatoform disorders, and so on. So there are many other kinds of. Then we all know of acute anxiety, acute stress, post-traumatic stress disorders.
Yep.
These are all stress-induced disorders.
Yeah.
Then we have a big group of what we call personality disorders.
Okay. Yep.
So we all have a different personality. My personality is different from yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we all have personality traits.
Yes.
But that doesn't make it a disorder. But if we have something which a trait which is impacting on our normal life or somebody else, then it becomes a disorder.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
there are many different types of personality disorders.
What are some of those?
Some
just
of
for
them.
an example.
Yeah. There is schizoid personality disorder. There is paranoid personality disorders. There are what we all have heard of narcissistic personality disorders.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have people who have sociopathic.
Okay.
Who don't care about the others and do all kinds of things about it. So there are many multiple personality disorders like that.
Yeah.
Then we have the alcohol and also drug.
Yep.
Addictions.
Yep.
Different. Then now we also have things like gambling addiction, all the addictive disorders. Then we have the sexual deviant disorders.
Yep.
Unfortunately or fortunately, there are. Many of the things that we used to call deviants have now become normalized.
Mainstream. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Which it depends on how you think about it and believe in it. We don't want to go into that too much. And so then there are childhood disorders. So
Okay,
we're talking
yeah.
autism, Asperger's disorders, ADHD.
Yep.
So whole load of psychiatric disorders. Just like physical disorders, there are 101 different types of mental disorders. Though very often we think mental disorders is only
Just
very
a
often
small
one
handful.
or-
Yeah.
but there's
Exactly.
so many.
Yeah. Which is it is eye-opening, and I think sometimes that's perhaps where people struggle to know how to approach it or to think about it, because it's not just a anxiety or depression and that's it. And the minute it's something other than that, you're like, well, hang on, I don't know what this is. I don't know how to approach this. I don't know how to think about this. Let's maybe focus a little bit just on those kind of stress-induced disorders for a little bit, if you're happy to. And perhaps like anxiety, I think our audience is fairly well versed in. We've had episodes with a doctor talking us through kind of what happens in our body when we're having anxiety and those sorts of things. But perhaps depression and post-traumatic stress disorder, perhaps if we could just go into a little bit more detail about what those kind of disorders are, kind of thing, and how that looks like for a person, what is actually going on for them.
Sure. Look, all of us are created as emotional beings. Every one of us we have been made with anxiety. We have been made with the fact that we can feel happy, we can feel sad, we can feel angry. Because that's the way we are, emotional beings. But it is only when these emotions, I might get an upsetting news and I feel upset for some time, and then we get over it.
Yeah.
But it's when these emotions that we all suffer, we all have, become prolonged and sustained. One of the criteria for when we say this is a illness. when it becomes prolonged and, whether it is sadness
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
etc. Or anxiety. The other thing is when it begins to impact our normal life,
Yeah. Okay.
or thirdly, it impacts somebody
Someone
else's life, then we say this is an illness.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we talk about things like anxiety disorder, you talked about anxiety. So as I said, we all have anxiety. And I don't want to go too much into it because you said you have already covered it. So let's talk about depression. Now, we all feel sad.
Yeah.
That's normal. If we don't, there's something wrong with us.
Yeah.
If we don't feel sad when things upset us. The problem with depression, the term depression, has sometimes been loosely used now.
Yeah.
We do not know whether it's a disorder or not. Because, let me tell you one reason. The same term, depression, is used for a mood state.
Yep.
I feel depressed.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? And that same term is used as a symptom of an illness very often. Many psychiatric disorders, we have depressive symptoms.
Yeah.
And thirdly, it can be a disorder. So when we say, I'm depressed, what are we?
What do we mean?
What are we meaning? Are we meaning that I'm emotionally, at this point in time, going through a sadness?
Yeah.
Are we talking about a symptom of an illness, or are we talking about an illness? So it has, in a way, sort of lost its
I think
use of,
even further extension, we say sometimes just in conversation, oh, that's so depressing that's happened. And we, again, just muddy the waters even further about what that term actually means.
Correct. Because of the way that we have been using it and utilizing it. So when you talk about an illness, depression, again, we do talk about what we call the serious depressive disorders, which another term that's very often used is major depression.
Okay.
And we use the term major depression, minor depression is another way of saying it. Or another term that's used is called melancholic depression.
Okay.
Now, when we say melancholic depression, there are a certain number of criteria that needs to be fulfilled. The person obviously feels sad. And again, when we say that somebody is depressed and we say it's a disorder, that mood should be sustained at least for 2 weeks or longer.
Yeah.
Just for a few days, we don't say they've got a disorder.
Yeah.
And if the mood that is depressed also begins to impact on the person's sleep. Now, very often we say, when I'm anxious, my sleep is disturbed, but I can't get to sleep.
Yep.
I often have what's called disturbed sleep through the night, waking up several times through the night.
Yeah.
But in melancholic depression, there's a particular type of sleep disturbance, which is early morning awakening. Go up to sleep, but they get up at 2, 3, can't get back to sleep again.
Yeah, wow.
Then we talk about appetite disturbance. Many things cause us to have disturbance of our appetite.
Yep.
And very often many people say, oh, I'm feeling depressed, so I am eating to fill my emptiness.
Eat my feelings.
And then people put on weight.
Yeah.
No. In melancholic depression, it is not that. It is loss of appetite.
Oh, wow.
Coupled with weight loss.
So they're affected so much that you don't even want to eat.
And then begin to lose
wow.
weight, etc. So that. Now, they have lack of interest, lack of energy.
Yeah.
Physically, they have what's called psychomotor, which is that agitation.
Yep.
You find somebody who's severely depressed, they come and sit next to a table having an interview. They can't sit still.
Yep.
They're up and down, moving around because they can't. There's psychomotor agitation. Or the other extent where it becomes psychomotor retarded.
Oh, okay.
They're sitting there like that. And then when you ask them a question, for a long time there's no answer. And then when you begin to ask the next question, comes the answer.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
And they're slowed in all psychomotor retardation.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
And then suicidal or loss of interest in life coming to suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
And the most severe end would be psychotic depression, in that melancholic, where they then begin to have what we talked about, delusions,
Yeah.
false beliefs which cannot be corrected. I've seen so many old ladies who will say, kill me, I am dirty, I am the cause of all these people who are sitting here. They are all here because I'm a bad person. And then when you talk to them, they'll say, and you get the history, 40 or 50 years ago, during the wartime, the husband was in the war, caught syphilis, and gave it to her. Nothing to do with
No
her.
fault of her own.
But
Yeah.
now when she is depressed, she feels so guilty
Yeah.
and that she needs to die.
Yeah.
And she's contaminating everyone. And then some people will show, look at my nails. Can you see all the germs coming out of it? So that's delusion,
Yeah.
disorder. And then they begin to hear voices, God talking to them, or Satan talking to them and saying how bad they are. That's hallucination.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's the severe end,
Yeah.
what we call major depression, or melancholic depression. And then when it comes to have psychotic symptoms, we call it psychotic depression.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the other one is the stress-induced, more the due to people who have anxiety for a long time, they get stressed for various reasons,
Yep.
then their mood can be affected and they get depressed as well.
Yeah.
Those kind of depressions, we call it more minor depression rather than this, which we often say is more, there's
Major,
something happening in the, bodily,
Yeah.
chemically, that's
Yep.
gone wrong rather than this anxiety-induced.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
depression.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, when we talk about stress, we all have stress.
Yeah.
Everyone. If there anybody says there's no
Unavoidable.
stress, they are not being true.
Yeah.
So every one of us suffers from stress. But when stress becomes so severe that it again impacts what we talked about, it impacts our normal functioning,
Yep.
it impacts other people, etc., then you say this is the person has got a disorder.
Yep.
Now, usually that kind of stress disorder passes away after that stress, so you have therapy. But PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, is when it lingers on goes on for a long, long time. Somebody who has been in the war, seen the effects of war, it has impacted so badly, and then they begin to have flashbacks, they begin to have dreams, they begin to every aspect of their life is being impacted, and that's a post-traumatic stress disorder, which is from very severe kind of stress that people.
Yeah.
I mean, again, the interesting thing that not every soldier who has seen exactly the same thing has that.
Yeah.
Why is that? Again, there are obviously personality, vulnerability factors, etc., which causes this. So when we talk about that, let me bring this into it. When we talk about why is it that some people suffer from?
Yeah.
And so we talk about the causes of mental illness. Medically, we use a term called etiology of mental disorder.
Okay. Yep.
So for a long time, we used to say BPSL. What is that? Biological,
Yep.
psychological, social, and BPS at one time.
Yep.
Then we introduced the term L.
Okay.
Biological, psychological, social, and lifestyle factors.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Which can contribute. So in biological, things like genetics.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, now almost every disease we talk about hereditary or genetic basis, whether it be diabetes, heart disease. Why is that? Some people who eat exactly the same thing, they seem to be all right. Another person ends up with diabetes, another one with heart, because we are born with different.
Each different, each unique.
That's right. And some have got the vulnerability to all kinds of disorders.
Yep.
So there is the biological, there's no doubt. For example, when I talked about schizophrenia, 1% of anywhere you go in the world, that's because there is a hereditary or genetic basis for that. But that doesn't mean that the person needs to end up with schizophrenia.
Okay. Yeah.
Just like diabetes, you might have a gene,
Yeah.
I might have a gene, but that doesn't mean that I will end up with diabetes. But because if I am careful with my diet, if I take care of my exercise and other factors in my life,
Yeah.
I won't end up. But another person, because they have got the genetic vulnerability, they end up with that.
Yeah.
So then biological also involves the chemicals in our brain,
Yep.
which if you've got the genetic basis and then the stress comes or whatever that is caused, then it causes a problem in the brain chemicals,
Yeah.
ending up in the person's illness
Yeah.
as a result of that. Then we talked about psychological. Your upbringing makes a lot of difference. Your background, to make one person more vulnerable in their personality compared to another one.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important, our upbringing and background. And then social factors, environmental factors.
Yeah.
And as I said, about 20 years ago, they introduced the term lifestyle. Our diet, our exercise.
Yeah.
And as Christians, I also introduce the other term, S. The spiritual aspects of a man, equally important. So the same terms, BPSL, BP, biological, psychological, social, lifestyle,
Yep.
and as Christians we can use spiritual, can be used when it comes to management or treatment of someone who is going through mental illness. We have to look at the biological treatments, psychological treatments, lifestyle, social,
spiritual.
and spiritual.
And so just before we get kind of further down into that, I'm guessing that means because there are these 4 or 5 factors that we look at of how it can be that we have the prevalence to have this kind of condition or anything like that, it then doesn't necessarily mean that it is just because you have one of them means you're going to get it. No. And just because you have one might not be enough for it to be an issue for you. It might have to be a combination of these things.
That's right. Yeah. So they're all important.
Yeah. And I guess then kind of going back to kind of your story about your frustration with modern medicine of just looking at one specific aspect of one thing, it doesn't address this bigger picture. Can we talk a little bit about how then, treatment, if we're kind of looking more holistically at a person, what are some of the things we'd kind of do in theory to kind of approach these different areas of our life?
Again, it depends on the illness.
Yeah,
so let's look at again the high prevalence and the high impact and the low impact.
Yep.
So for example, schizophrenia. Again, that's the one that most people know when you talk about mental illness.
Yeah.
So when it comes to schizophrenia, there is no doubt that the person needs the biochemical treatments, biological treatments, because with just psychological treatments, with just spiritual treatment, just lifestyle, it's not going to make any difference.
Yeah.
A person who has become psychotic will need antipsychotic treatment. So there is no doubt that they need that. But at one time, in psychiatry, we only sort of concentrated on that. But then as psychiatry progressed, we talked more about psychological treatments that need to be, even for the most severe, they need also the addition of psychological, social supports, comes to, again, therapy, their occupational, their accommodation, rehabilitation, all is important. And lifestyle factors. You see, many of the folks with schizophrenia, for example, have a tendency to not eat properly.
Okay.
And the medications that they have got an effect on their, they put on weight.
Yeah, okay.
More incidence of heart attack, diabetes, etc. So that's why, again, more recently, there's much more emphasis given to the metabolic factors. So also treating the person as a whole. They need to be advised about their diet, their exercise. People with severe mental illnesses, I mean, this is one of the reasons why we should care about people with mental illness. Their life expectancy is much shorter than people who don't have mental illness. Yeah.
And I'm guessing that's not like you say something like that, and I think the mind immediately goes to, well, suicide is probably the reason, but it's more than that, right?
No. Suicide is just one.
Yeah.
But more importantly, because of all these because there's a tendency people with mental illness probably, again, they're not taking care of their diet. They probably tend not to go out and exercise and be much more involved in activities, and so all that impacts our body and our life expectancy. So all that have to be taken care of. And then obviously, as when we're talking as Christians, we need to also look after these people from the spiritual point of view as well. I mean, and it is people with things like the severe mental illness, for example, when they come to our churches, that maybe they don't dress appropriately, they don't probably smell as others would do, and they might have habits which might be less socially acceptable. But that's where, as a Christian community, where we are supposed to be more caring, we should be showing the difference. And be caring much more for people like that.
So like we said, as Christians, we need to be caring for people with mental illnesses, and part of caring for them is also their spiritual. That is part of our life, that we believe as Christians, as the whole person, our spirit is part of us. But at the same time, there's sometimes, as Christians, are a bit unsure about how to approach mental illness, or even if it even is something that needs to be addressed from either a medical or a Christian point of view.
Sure.
Are you happy to share a bit about some of those kind of Christian perspectives on mental illness?
Sure, yeah. I mean, as I said in the beginning, I mean, there's always been, unfortunately, I feel, wrong teaching. And the stigma that's been there on mental illness. A lot of it is because of lack of understanding. And I think spiritually, there have been areas of this confusion and conflict. I mean, there are several areas that I can talk. I mean, again, time is limited. I can go on talking for quite some time about all these areas. But one is, the question of when somebody is suffering from a mental illness, especially, is it spiritual or is it psychiatric? And this is often a thing, issue that comes up, the spiritual or a psychiatric problem, that mental illness problem that we are coming across. I mean, it's fairly when it comes to, again, we use an example of schizophrenia. You see, when a person is suffering from schizophrenia and they begin to use, probably, for example, that they are seeing things or hearing the voice of God. And you begin to wonder, is this a spiritual problem that we are dealing with? But when you deal with someone like that, spend a bit more time, you begin to realize that the way that they talk, even when they say, I hear the voice of God, is very different from the way that a person who is spiritually saying, I hear the voice of God. If a person who is normal, when I say normal, that means who's not mentally ill, you can have a conversation with them. Say, no, look, what you're saying, what do you really mean? I don't understand, or I don't feel that way. They are able to have that conversation and see that the person that you're talking to, they are feeling a bit, there's incredulity as to what's being said. And while a person who is deluded, you can't have that kind of conversation. Immediately you can make out that that's fixed. There's no, and the way they talk about it's not amenable to be any sort of arguments or discussion, whatever. And not only that, their behavior is very different from what you would expect of a person who's normal. Here's a person who will say, I'm the king of England, in part of a delusion. And they'll be wearing tattered clothes and dirty clothes. I'm the King of England. So you can see that discrepancy. From the behaviors, from the actions, you can see that this is more of a mental illness than a spiritual problem that you're dealing with. Now, there are quite a number of areas. The terminologies that I used very often cause confusion. You see, in our Christian beliefs, we talk about right and wrong.
Yeah.
Now, in psychiatry, we don't talk about right and wrong. Okay. Yeah. There are certainly wrong things that we do.
Yep.
But we are talking about a person's we're not there to make moral judgments on that person.
Okay.
Here's a person who has been living in a way, and now because of his mental illness, there's been a change. Our role as psychiatrists is not to make them better persons or worse persons, but to bring them back to what they were.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Right? That is not the role of the medical specialty in psychiatry, to try and make the person more spiritual or a better person. No, that's not. Because of the illness, they have begin to behave in a different way.
Changed and affected. We want to
bring them back to that. That's our role.
Okay. Yeah.
Even the term guilt. This term guilt is interesting. The term guilt is used. The same term is used by a lawyer in a different way, by a pastor or a Christian in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we talk about guilt, legally, very black and white. You do something wrong, you're guilty, punished for it. And spiritually, again, you've done something against God, and you feel that you're guilty. Now, in psychiatry, when we use the term guilt, I say that's what's called psychotic guilt and neurotic guilt.
Okay.
What do I mean? So here's a person who, because of his mental illness, he begins to, as I mentioned, feels that he has done something very bad.
Yeah, okay.
Probably has not done anything at all.
Yep.
But because of his illness, he has this delusion, a false belief, which cannot be corrected by reasoning, which is out of keeping with the person's background. He begins to believe, I am a criminal. I'm done something wrong, which is not done. That's because of his illness. That's psychotic guilt. What is neurotic guilt? Well, here's a person, I usually give the example, who feels that he's, because of his Christian beliefs, that God has called him down to be a missionary.
Yep.
To go to Indonesia, for example, or to Bali or wherever. And then he comes and tells his parents, elderly parents, God has called me. I want to go. I feel I need to go. The parents who are elderly then puts on this, son, God has called you. Yeah, you have to go. They say it in such a way that makes him feel guilty.
Yeah.
Is that true guilt? No, it's more of a neurotic guilt because of the way society is putting it on them.
Yeah.
The Christian church and the way that we talk put them under that kind of guilt. It's not true guilt. There is true guilt. We accept that in psychiatry. If somebody has done something wrong, that they have to feel guilty.
Yeah.
The same term being used differently. All this causes confusion. One main area that has caused problems and difficulties over the years has been this whole area of, is this mental illness or demon possession, or demon obsession?
So then, if, psychiatry has a different then idea of what guilt is, perhaps than what we might, culturally or socially or even spiritually say guilt is, how does the notion of sin play out in comparison to psychiatry or guilt?
Sure. That depends very much on the person's belief. You see, so most of the people that we deal with, the psychiatrists and psychologists, are non-Christians.
Yeah.
But what I can say is, there was always this feeling that if you're a Christian, you can't go and see a non-Christian psychiatrist. that they don't understand. But most, I can say, after many years of working with non-Christians,
Yeah.
basically, that whatever their beliefs, they have been trained to accept what the other person, the patient is saying, and work along with that patient. So it might be a completely atheist or a secular psychiatrist, but if they're saying as a Christian, and who believes that they have done something wrong, normally, and I'm not talking about a delusion.
No, but
And because of that, that's causing them now depression or anxiety because they feel that something has been done wrong. They will work with that person along that line.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, even though they might not believe it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the way they have been trained. They have to accept the other person, the patient's way of thinking,
Values,
or
their
what
worldview,
background. We have to always consider the person's background and values and work with that person that way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we don't need to be worried that they're trying to convert us
No.
away from our faith or trying to teach us something
To
that's
say
wrong.
that you're wrong.
Yeah.
Most of there might be one or two who feel that way, but the bulk of people that I've worked with will accept the fact and work along with that.
Yeah. Which is probably a bit of relief for people that might be going, maybe I shouldn't go and see someone, but
who is non-Christian.
Exactly. So then if we approach these things from as Christians, if we're seeing things like someone saying they're hearing voices or seeing hallucinations, like we see some of that imagery in the Bible kind of thing. We hear some of these things talked about in the faith. Is there a case or a time then where what we think of as mental illness is confused with like demon possession or something like that? Is there any kind of connection or parallel there?
Yeah, as a Christian, I accept that there is a devil. We have to accept that there is a devil, and that also a host of his fallen angels who are demons. But this is the big but. After all these years of working in mental illness, over 40 years, I can say that probably I've come across one or two patients where I feel, could this be something more than just a mental illness? Could there be something happening here where I would be thinking about whether it be demonization or demon possession? I don't want to go into this because that's a big area itself. Demon possession is when we often say that when an evil spirit takes over control, and while demon oppression is where the devil or his agents are trying to oppress. And as Christians, we know that we'll be more at the end of the oppression. We've been told that as Christians, you can, devil is out there to steal, kill, and destroy. So we will be. But when we talk about demonization from the point of demon possession, it's very interesting that Christians over the years have looked at people with mental illness and done all kinds of things. Immediately they think about, especially when you talk about psychotic illnesses, not the anxiety, etc., and consider this as being demon possession. We have flogged them, we have drowned them, we have killed them, thinking that this is due to demon possession or demonization. But if you look in the Bible, most of the cases, and I usually just use one book, the book of Matthew, and look at where Jesus has cast out demons. The bulk of them, apart from, we don't have time. We can go through the Bible and just look at Matthew. Demons have been cast out by Jesus. Following the demons being cast out, deaf people have been able to hear. Blind have been able to see. Mute have been able to speak. Right? And there was the example of in Matthew where Jesus cast out a man when he crossed Galilee and went to Gennesaret, and there was a man, some some versions say there were 2 men, but 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. They were in the grave and they were acting just as though they were mad.
Yeah.
And when the demons were cast out, they became completely normal. But there was one out of all the other descriptions. So I often ask, why is it that you only think about, why do you only think about demon possession in terms of mental illness? Why do you not, you ask Christian psychiatrists, have you come across someone who is suffering from demon possession? Why do you not ask ENT specialists? Why do you not ask ophthalmologists? Why do you not ask neurologists? A boy, again in Matthew, when the demon was cast out, his fits recovered.
Yeah.
But why do we consider only mental illness as being equivalent to demon possession?
Yeah.
The bulk of the examples in the Bible, when demon possession manifested in physical illnesses and not mental illness.
Yeah, wow.
You need to remember that.
Yeah.
Yes, there are patients with mental illness who have demon possession, just like any mental illness could be due to demon possession.
Yeah.
But the other things is not all of us have got the gift of discernment. I often say, I haven't had. I don't claim to have the gift of discernment.
Yep.
And we have to be careful to deal with people like that if we don't have that gift. There are examples in the Bible where the devil turned on this people who tried to
that's right. Yeah.
cast out demons in the name of Jesus, and the demons said, "Jesus I know, and Peter I know, but who are you?" And they attacked them. So if we feel that there's something that could be demon possessed, then probably refer them to somebody who we feel has that gift or special ability.
Yeah. Fantastic. So then, as Christians or as a church kind of thing, how should we be responding to people that have mental illnesses?
Well, first of all, is to many mental illnesses, people who are going through, it's very a lonely path. And I think what has been shown time and time again in not only Christian research, but most of the research is secular, that one of the major factors which helps people who are going through many of these problems is to have somebody who understands, supports, and walks alongside with you.
Yeah.
If I can make a statement here, which if everyone forgets everything else but just this one statement.
Yep.
Very often, as Christians, when people come to us with all kinds of difficulties, what we want to be is we want to immediately solve their problems.
Yeah.
But what we need to be increasingly as Christians, professionals are different. If we find something is wrong, we can't deal with it, learn to refer them on.
Yeah.
But most of us as Christians, what we need to be are fellow travelers and not solution providers.
Yeah.
We can remember that. What we need to be are fellow travelers, not solution providers. Every one of us, when somebody comes to us, we want to provide a solution. No. What people want is someone who can travel. Yeah. And God says many times in the Word of God, I will be with you.
Yeah.
He doesn't say, I'm going to take you off problems. You're not going to have problems. You will have problems in this world.
Yeah.
And Jesus, God has never said in His Word, as a Christian, you're not going to be. But what He has promised is, I will be with you.
Yeah. And then, our role as their brothers and sisters is to be with them as well.
Yeah.
To be their fellow travelers.
That has been found to be one of the strongest help assistance to people who are going through mental illness, is having a family, having a support group that can be with you.
Yeah, fantastic. And hopefully that's something that people are picking up from what we're trying to do here at Anxious Faith about sharing the journey with people, kind of thing, walking that road together is what we are called to do, and is what we can do. We helping someone or being there for someone does not mean we all have to be qualified or trained or anything like that. There is something all of us can be doing. KG, thank you for your time, your expertise today. It's been really, really insightful to learn some more about some of these different mental illnesses, but also, just to be thinking through some of these questions about where sin plays into it from both sides of it and how we respond. I want to just quickly, just to wrap us up kind of thing, as churches, if there has kind of been this stigma around mental illness, which, you say you've experienced, I've experienced that, and that we kind of, a lot of the stories that we've shared on Anxious Faith of people that have maybe tried to open up but haven't quite felt that people have understood what's going on. What do you have ideas about what we as churches should be doing to try and decrease that stigma?
Yeah, I think one of the things, which is as I said, I've been trying to do this, and now as I've retired, I've been trying to do it even more, is to try and reduce the stigma. How can we reduce stigma and lack of understanding is by learning more and understanding more.
Yep.
And how do we do that? Well, the opportunities, like what you're doing now, to talk about it more openly, to get people who know a bit more to come and talk to you. I would suggest, we have a group of experts in the Center for Theology and Psychology.
Yeah.
The whole thing is integrating theology and psychology. We are always willing. I'm always willing to come to any church, any time, to talk further about mental illness, to answer questions, to try and do whatever we can. So how do we break it? Is to read. There are many books out there now, plenty. If you go to Kurong, there are many books when it comes to Christian thought in this area of mental illness, psychology, Christian view of psychology, and what we can do. Plenty of books that we can buy. But if you don't want to buy the books, then get somebody to come and talk to you.
Yep. And just be willing to ask some of those questions and ask what their experience is like and hear what it's like for them, rather than just take our ideas or our suppositions of what it might be like for them to be going through that.
Yeah, so. That's right. And I've got a little booklet, which is called A Christian Perspective on Mental Illness and Suicide. Very little booklet. Yeah. That I brought it out earlier this year. Yep. And copies are available at the Center for Theology and Psychology. I think they've run out of it, but I'm going to get more, which will be available there.
Fantastic. Well, like you say, KG, it's learning is one of those things that help us understand more and decrease the stigma. And it's one of the things you guys at the Center for Theology and Psychology are trying to do.
That's right. And we have got loads of workshops and webinars that have been happening and will continue to do so. Yeah.
So you've got one coming up as well. So in September, is this an in-person one, I think?
Yes, it is. And we're trying to do it as a hybrid. Yeah. Both face-to-face and this time particularly, this is the third time we're going to do it. This is actually, you've all probably have heard of the mental health first aid course that is available. And so a few years ago, we thought, why not we produce or do something along the lines of a Christian mental health first aid. Yeah. But we can't use the term mental health first aid because it's heavily copyrighted. So we have used the term spotting the signs. Yeah. And this is actually from a Christian viewpoint, how we can recognize people with mental illness, and what we have talked today will be talked in more detail, how we can walk alongside and what are the things that we can do for people in our churches, in our Christian communities, or even personally that we know for going through mental illness. Yeah. And I think the date for the next one is, you've got it there?
I've got it here, So if you are interested in learning more, you can head to the Center for Theology and Psychology's website. We'll put the information in the description, in the show notes and things like that. Their next workshop is coming up. It's over 2 evenings on September the 7th and September the 14th in Melbourne, but maybe hybrid as well, and maybe online if you're not in Melbourne. If you want to learn more, it's a great way for you to, like we say, go into more detail in these kind of things, how to spot the signs from a Christian perspective of someone that's dealing with mental illness, and then what you can do. We'll have all the information on our website as well, on this episode page as well. So if you want to find out more, you can head there and grab all the links for that, as well as information about KG's book, A Christian Perspective on Mental Illness and Suicide, and information on how you can get a copy of that. KG, thank you so much for your time today.
Most welcome.
It's just an absolute privilege to sit and talk with you. Thank you.
My pleasure. God bless you.
Thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. If it was helpful or encouraging, we'd love for you to drop a like on it and share it around. You can see way more content on our website, anxiousfaith.org, where you can listen to each episode of the podcast, find more resources, and read our blog all around mental health and faith. Be sure to also follow us on socials via the links in the description and subscribe to our channel so you can be kept in the loop when we're dropping more content for you. Thanks so much, and God bless.